Welcome to episode 22, which asks the question, can love conquer all? Please turn on closed captioning if it's not already on. You know, in episodes 10 and 14, I spoke about my definitions of love and hurt of the heart. For those of you who haven't seen episode 9 of season 1 of the Showtime series, City on the Hill, there's this scene where one of the stars, Siobhan, tells her husband, De Courcy, about what caused her to fall in love with him. Basically, she was sick after too much partying one Halloween when they were just college freshman friends, and he stayed up and wrote a paper for her that was due the next day and which was critical to her passing a particular course. As I touched on in my blog episode 10, she fell in love with him for, in effect, helping her cheat. And while some might say no harm, no foul, the fact that she got a passing grade could possibly mean that her undeserved grade prevented someone else from graduating with a higher class ranking. So, if good is not relative, you cannot say that what De Courcy actually did for Siobhan was good. However, we'll give Siobhan a slide because I was going to say pass, but she didn't pass. But anyway, we'll give Siobhan a slide because her focus was not just on what De Courcy did, but on what he didn't do. Sleep. His sacrifice of staying up the night into the morning to help her, even though he too had been out partying, is what caused her to fall in love with him. She figured he had demonstrated that he loved her. Because, as she said, love is putting someone else's happiness before your own and trusting that they'll do the same. As I've said, to me, that phrase totally encapsulates what love is. But the key part of the phrase is the trust you put in the person you love to love you back. The breaking of that trust can cause a tremendous hurt of the heart. But, true love never ends. That's why so-called crimes of passions are really foul. That's, to me, just the thought of contemplating hurting or harming someone you claim you love means you do not truly love that person. It means your focus is selfishly on yourself and how that person makes you feel rather than how you make that person feel. So if you truly love somebody, you put their happiness before your own, and if they don't do the same for you, you walk away. You may want to put distance between yourself and someone you love who hurts your heart, but you don't try to hurt them back. But can a hurt of the heart be overcome so you renew a relationship with the person who hurt your heart? Can someone change and show you love enough to overcome a hurt of the heart? I posed those questions in episode 14. I think perhaps yes, but rarely in real life. I mean, it happens frequently in movies with people having epiphanies of a sort. Some mind-opening event cause, for example, a racist or a criminal or a lover to try to redeem themselves with respect to someone whose heart they hurt. But in real life, if someone deliberately hurts your heart, the fact that it's deliberate compounds the hurt. And if someone hurts your heart without knowing it, it suggests the person doesn't know you. And if it's someone you are close to, such as a close relative or a best friend or a teammate or someone you are sharing or looking to share a life with, such as a spouse or lover, that realization that the person you feel you know doesn't really know you, that in itself compounds the hurt. Remember, a hurt of the heart is not the same as a disagreement or fuss or fight where people can cool off and apologize and perhaps kiss and make up. A hurt of the heart is something you feel at your core and never forget. But people can break up for reasons other than a hurt of the heart. So if a couple breaks up even after marriage, does that mean they never truly loved each other? Yes, they are breaking up because in some way one or both realize they really did know the other. You can't have true love with someone you don't really know. Remember, true love never ends. But people can engage in a relationship where there is love but not true love. It could be a situation of more caring rather than love. Or it could be love that is really, really like very, very much. Such a relationship between spouses or lovers or best friends can change just because the people grow apart. They develop different interests and do not need or enjoy each other's company as before. It's what irreconcilable differences are all about. The people may remain close, just not as close. There may still be trust, but what they trust each other with changes because it's difficult to fully trust somebody you don't know the way you thought you did. The bottom line is that if there is no hurt of the heart to dwell on your mind when you interact with a particular person you were once very close to, you can still have a relatively close relationship with the person. Essentially, overcoming a hurt of the heart means restoring trust. However, since in real life there will now be distance between you and the person who hurt your heart, emotional as well as physical distance, there becomes a lack of opportunity for the person to regain your trust so as perhaps to cure the hurt of the heart. If the hurt of the heart if the hurt of the heart comes from a broken trust of love, that trust is almost impossible to restore and might never be restored completely because the opportunity for the person to show you love, as I define it, putting your happiness before their own and trusting that you will do the same, may never occur. Or it may. Such is the randomness of life on this earth and in the universe where we exist.